Hey, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Q, and I hope y'all are as excited as I am. It is finally opening day for VCT Lock. Now, of course, we are going to have two separate brackets. We have the Alpha and the Omega bracket. It does look like our Alpha bracket is actually what's going to be starting today. I figured before things kick off, we are going to be doing a lot of watch parties over here on the channel. But before we get into things, I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and do a little pick'em, go ahead and do a little bracket for the tournament here itself. But since we are starting with the Alpha bracket, figured I'd start doing the Alpha bracket pick'em, and then when we get ready to start with the Omega bracket, we'll go ahead and do another video for that as well. All right. Now, I do want to say we're not going to be going too far in detail as far as some of these games. It's going to be more of some of just simply pick'ems here. I also want to state that a lot of these games I also anticipate being very, very close. This is, I mean, it's only you get one chance, right? There's no double elimination, so these teams are going to be fighting. I'm not saying I don't think that all of these picks are going to be right, but I think it's going to be a pretty strong bracket here as we go through it. All right. Now, also, I want to point out as we're going through, I believe it pretty well goes down straight in order of the games as they're going to be played. However, Loud is dealing with some health stuff. So their game that was scheduled for the 13th is going to be pushed back to the 15th. All right. But otherwise, everything else here is just exactly as it's supposed to be. Let's go ahead and kind of go through some of these pick'ems here. All right. So this is going to be, again, for the Alpha bracket here. And it's going to be kicking off with NRG versus Koi. And I anticipate all these matchups to be close, but I am going to have to lean towards NRG in that first matchup. I think they are one of the better teams coming out of the NA region here. I think it's going to be a team that we're going to have to be definitely keeping an eye out for over the course of this season within itself. Now, as far as between Detonation as well as Giants Gaming here, I think, again, this is going to be a close one. I have to lean just a little bit, I think, towards Detonation. Don't be surprised if Giants Gaming does take the win there, but I feel pretty confident that it's going to be Detonation that ends up walking away with that W. Now, we're going to work on the bottom half of this the top half of our Alpha bracket here. Again, remember, this is a single elimination. You only get one shot. Now, as I had mentioned, the Loud team, this game is going to be the 15th instead of the 13th. One thing I also want to point out about this Loud roster, this is not the same roster that won last year as far as the championships. Now, they do have a couple of returning players, but it's not the same roster. Even with that being said, I don't think Gen G is going to be able to take down Loud, so I do have them taking that game as well. Also, as far as in this bracket, we have Fun plus Phoenix, Fun FPX. I want everyone to know, again, this is not the same roster. FPX from last year is actually the new Na'Vi roster, which is going to be in the Omega bracket, okay? So this is going to be one of the new Chinese teams that is coming in. I think because it is a best, single elimination, you only get one shot. I also think this FPX roster is pretty nasty. So I'm going to anticipate them walking away with the dub here. I know from talking with a couple of my homies in the Discord, I think they're feeling a little bit more better about the Carmine Corp just because there's a little bit more info out about them, a little bit more news, a little bit more tape on them as well. I do think, though, this FPX roster is going to turn some heads here at Sao Paulo. Don't know if they'll be able to beat Loud, but we'll go ahead and get to that when we get to that here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and look as far as the bottom half of this bracket for Alpha here. You've got BBL Esports and DRX. I do think that DRX does end up walking away with the W in that. I do, like most of these games, anticipate it to be close. I just feel like DRX does have some subtle advantages there that I think really allows them to continue moving forward. But what I'm really excited about, guys, when it comes to this Alpha bracket is this first round matchup between Cloud9 and PaperX. If there is any game that I felt like in the first round would really be able to give us a good idea of a team that would be qualified from the Alpha bracket, I think it's going to be this one. We'll kind of touch back on that a little bit later. I know a lot of my folks, as far as in my community, have a really good feeling towards Cloud9, but I do think I'm going to have to roll with PaperX. Now, as far as down here in the bottom half of our Alpha bracket, I know when I was going through this bracket originally with some of my homies in the Discord, we thought that Evil Geniuses was going to have was going to bring a little bit of their their like supplementary roster, bring in some people to get some extra like reps and things when it comes to being on LAN. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, though. From my understanding, it does actually look like we are going to be seeing their traditional roster there. So Reformed was sent as a sixth man, but Screwface is not going to be in Brazil. I do think because of that, even though I originally leaned towards Team Heretics when I was first watching this. I do think I'm going to have to give the slight advantage to Evil Geniuses. Now, as far as in MIBR and Talent Esports, these are two teams that I do think are going to be able to make a name for themselves, if you ask me, over the course of this season. Of course, Talent Esports being a Thailand team, and then MIBR, I'm trying to remember here. Let's see if I can find them real quick on Liquidpedia. I was doing a little bit of research on them as a team I didn't know too much about. It is a Brazilian team here, which is one thing I do want to kind of keep in mind. And I think because of that, you got to remember we're in Sao Paulo. This is a Brazilian team. I think I'm going to have to lean towards them as far as at least taking round or their first set of games. I don't know if they move past that, to be honest, but we'll have to kind of go back to that here in just a moment. So we're now already to the quarterfinals. That was the round of 16. Let's go ahead and go back up to the top of our bracket here. Now we have NRG Esports versus Detonation Gaming. I promise this isn't one of those things where I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be a hometown favorite or anything like that. I know obviously when we first launched the channel, we talked a lot as far as at Champions, the fact that it was looking very NA on top heavy. I'm not still leaning that way, but I think in this case here, I do think I have to lean towards NRG Esports. Now, as far as between Loud and FPX, again, even though this isn't the Loud team from last year that won the championship, again, this is also not the same FPX roster, right? And because of that, even though I think the FPX roster is going to turn some heads, really show up at LAN, I don't know if they've got enough to take down Loud. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and have Loud meeting up with NRG in the semifinals. As far as in the bottom half of this bracket here, though, let's go ahead and take a look. We've got DRX versus PaperX. And I think this is going to be a banger of a series. I really think this is going to come out as a really, I think this basically would be what would determine who qualifies here. Just like how I thought the PaperX Cloud9 one did. Same thing here. And that's why I'm also going to roll with PaperX. And because of that, y'all should probably know who I'm thinking as my qualified one here, but we're not going to jump the gun just quite yet. We're going to go ahead and talk about Evil Geniuses versus MIBR. Remember, MIBR is that Brazilian team that I expect to be able to show up against Talent Esports. They are going to be playing against Evil Geniuses, however, and knowing that Evil Geniuses is pretty well bringing their starter roster, only bringing a sixth man, I think I'm going to have to lean towards Evil Geniuses on that one right there. But now we've got our top four as far as for the alpha bracket here. It's going to be NRG Esports versus Loud, PaperX versus Evil Geniuses. And like I said, even though this isn't the Loud team from last year, I do expect them to get this far, but I feel like NRG Esports is going to come out on top, is going to be the team that qualifies out of the upper bracket from the alpha bracket here. And as far as on the bottom, PaperX versus Evil Geniuses, again, this really shouldn't be a surprise to you as far as who I'm picking. I've kind of been preluding it over the course of this bottom half, talking about this game as well as this game right here. And because of that, I am going to roll with PaperX as my qualifier from the lower half of the bracket. Of course, these two teams will eventually end up meeting the two qualified teams from the Omega bracket. As I said, I will be doing my predictions for the Omega bracket in a video style just like this here in like what is it, like a week and a half right before it ends up actually start, or probably about a week before it ends up starting. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. If you're wanting to make sure you're right back here for that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on. And of course, this is a brand new YouTube channel, so do me a favor, let me know what you guys think about these picks. Do you like them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Let me know everything down below, and hit that like button if you made it this far, because this is a new channel. Those two things help me the most as far as get my content from new people. All right. Now we are going to be doing quite a few watch parties of this over here, so feel free to pop on back for that. But until we catch y'all back over here on the YouTube for the next video or the next watch party, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love harder. All right, y'all. It's your boy Q, signing out.